Lawmakers in Togo have passed a law which puts further restrictions on demonstrations following a wave of opposition rallies. The government says the law is to make the country safer, but the opposition sees it as an effort to stifle growing dissent fueled by the fact that one family has held the presidency since 1967. Under the new law, no protests will be allowed on main roads, in city centres or near government buildings. A tweaked constitution allows President Faure Gnassingbé to stay on until 2030. By then, the Gnassingbé family would have been in charge for 63 years. Sudan's military rulers have pardoned two rebel leaders who had been sentenced to death in absentia. Malik Aga, head of the Sudan's People's Liberation Movement North, and his deputy, Yasser Arman, were given the death penalty in 2014 for their participation in a rebellion against Omar al-Bashir's government. The uprising began in Blue Nile State in September 2011. Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, head of the military council that overthrew Mr. Bashir in April, issued the pardon. The constitutional declaration signed last weekend by the ruling TMC and Sudan's opposition coalition provides for a general amnesty for those political leaders and armed group members sentenced by the previous regime. Now, following reports of fighting in South Sudan's central equatorial region, the new force commander of the UN mission in the country has ordered the deployment of a military patrol to the area. This is meant to assess the security and humanitarian situation and to deter more fighting.
So this patrol, just see that we patrol this place, right? Be out.
The new UNMISS force commander has been proactive in acting immediately to stem the clashes between armed groups in Lobonak, ordering a military patrol to deploy to the troubled area. The patrol sets off, but arrival in Lobonak won't happen on the day. As a military checkpoint mounted by government soldiers, the South Sudan's People's Defense Forces will not let them proceed. On the second attempt, they make it, but not without more questions and threats to turn them back. In Lobonak, peacekeepers meet country authorities who tell them they can't proceed to Caperto, close to where the clashes happened, but they may speak to civilians around Lobonak. The county commissioner, who is the area security coordinator, heads out in the direction of Caperto, where government forces have set up a military base at the only school in the area. He leads the peacekeepers to Caperto, with stops in villages along the road to interact with civilians, who share details of their displacement and needs, but are restricted from speaking about the security situation.
No clothes, no food, no salt, no medicine. There is nothing. How can we stay here? We cannot stay if you people cannot do something. We will leave this country because we are suffering a lot. Since November last year, we are still the same. Take two. Since November last year, we are still in the same situation.
From the interactions, it's clear that the fighting has completely stopped, and villagers attribute it to the presence of UN peacekeepers in the area. Despite the various challenges with access, the peacekeepers have accomplished their mission. Their presence in the area has deterred further violence, and they have collected enough information about the security situation in the area, including who started the clashes and about the humanitarian needs of the displaced civilians.
Libya has deported 141 Sudanese migrants from Benghazi's Benina airport as part of a voluntary return program. Head of the Benghazi Department for Countering Illegal Migration, Ashraf Awidi, says the group that was deported did not include any children. The trip is the first in a program that aims to voluntarily return migrants who do not hold legal residency on Libyan soil. Libya is one of the main departure points for African migrants fleeing poverty and war to try to reach Italy by boat, but many are picked up and brought back to by the Libyan Coast Guard, supported by the European Union. Now, as part of ways to curb plastic pollution in Africa, a Kenyan recycler has invested in a $44 million plastic recycling factory in Nairobi. However, Lucy Luo complains that her machines are idle because she cannot get enough waste. Take a look.
A sea of crumpled bottles spills across the courtyard of Lucy Luo Mingu's $44 million plastic recycling factory that opened in Nairobi, one of the slew of regional initiatives to tackle the world's spiraling plastic waste crisis. Most of the time, Lucy's machines are idle. She says she cannot get anything close to the 2,000 tons of plastic she wants to recycle each month. She's running at a third of capacity.
We have the packing bed machine there. One day they need 25 tons. And we have another crush machine, they are one day like 35 tons. Now we have that two machines working enough for this material come to us. That's why going to that machine stop.
Many African nations struggle to recycle, and like many developing nations, Kenya has no recycling infrastructure. Private companies dispose the household rubbish. Waste pickers scavenge through trash bags outside homes and stinking molds of refuse at dumps to recover the type of plastic that Lucy's factory needs. The body pays 5 shillings on top of the 19 shillings per kilo.
If we not enough material, where business is supposed to lose, because we have master workers, we have electricians, also have workers, anything we must pay them, and also rent this place.
According to an October 2018 Greenpeace report, many consumer brands like Coca-Cola, Unilever and Nestle are among the world's biggest producers of plastic trash.
Nestle's business is purely plastics, and statistics show that since 2013 to 2017, their plastic production increased by 5%. Even though they are telling us that they are recycling, you find that whatever they are producing is increasing every year. So that means they are in the business of plastics. They need to take concrete steps. One, to come up with clear plans to eliminate plastics, especially single-use plastics, in their processes by developing very comprehensive steps that encourage reusing, that encourage refilling mechanisms.
African countries such as Kenya and Rwanda have already banned plastic bags. Now lawmakers are looking at the other plastic pollution. Environmentalists want companies to be legally responsible for collecting their waste.
And that's it on the program. Do have a lovely weekend. I'm Teniola Shoboale.